Welcome to the Berean Brotherhood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Berean Brotherhood. I'm your host, Pastor David. This is episode 10 of season 2. Today, I'm excited to be covering the terms of sons of God, Nephilim, and Elohim. All of these are complex, deep-rooted biblical terms, and I want to share the historical context, the theological context, and I just want to give a comprehensive analysis of all of these terms, including every single biblical reference, the Hebrew translations, the interpretations, and even give you some extra biblical resources. But before I do, you know what you have to do. Hit that subscribe button, share with all of your friends, your chats, your small groups. We are currently only 5 subs away from hitting the 200 mark. Also, hit the notification bell because we will be going live again, and I want to interact with all of you. Thank you for watching. Let's go. The sons of God. I remember when I first purchased my keyword Bible in the NASB translation, and I'm reading through the book of Genesis, and I got up to chapter 6. When I got up to chapter 6, I came across this term called the sons of God. And thank God that I had a keyword because it had a little reference number next to it. And I went to the back of my keyword Bible and I looked up the reference number, and it says that the definition for the sons of God, the Hebrew word, was the Benai Elohim. That led me into this deep journey of trying to discover who were the sons of God, and led me to the Nephilim, and also led me to the term the Elohim. Now, the term sons of God, the Benai Elohim, here's some biblical references. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 through 4, it says the term the Benai Elohim, right, the sons of God, refer to the beings that saw the daughters of men, and they were beautiful, and they took them as wives, resulting in the offspring called the Nephilim. In Job chapter 1, verse 6, it says the Benai Elohim, the sons of God, they are described as presenting themselves before God, and Satan is among them. Job chapter 38, verse 7 references the sons of God rejoicing at creation, and they're often interpreted as angels. Psalms 29, verse 1, it translates the sons of God as heavenly beings or the sons of the mighty. So once I looked up this translation of the sons of God, me being the Benai Elohim, I was fully convinced that these were a direct creation from God. So a direct creation from God is the angels. So Adam was a Benai Elohim. Angels were a Benai Elohim. Elohim is often used as a word as a plural form of the use of the word God, and it can also mean divine beings or judges in certain contexts. Here are some interpretations of who are the sons of God. Number 1, angelic beings. Many of the early Jewish and Christian traditions interpret that the sons of God as the fallen angels or divine beings who rebelled against God, and this is supported by a text like First Enoch, which is an extra biblical text. Number 2 is the line of Seth. Some interpret the line of Seth as the sons of God as the righteous descendants of Seth, contrasting from the daughters of men and from Cain's lineage, which would be the daughters of men. Number 3, the human judges and kings. A very minority view suggests that the sons of God were powerful rulers and acted as God's representatives on earth. I personally believe that they were angelic beings. They left their first estate and they came and they had children, or they married the daughters of men, and it caused mixture of DNA, and it caused an offspring to be not natural. That's why the Nephilim are known as the giants of the land. But let me give you some more extra biblical resources. The first book of Enoch is called the Book of the Watchers, and it identifies the sons of God as watchers, angelic beings who descended from earth. They married human women and produced the Nephilim. In the Book of Jubilees, similarly, it describes angelic beings mating with humans. I definitely would encourage you, if you have already read your entire Bible, read some of these extra biblical books, and then go into the history and see why they were not included in the Bible. But I think for me, after reading First Enoch, Jubilees, the Book of Jasher, the Book of the Giants, books that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, to me, I am more and more convinced that this is an accurate translation for the sons of God, the Benai Elohim, that they were angels. Here's some other perspectives. In Islam, the Quran does not explicitly mention the sons of God, but it speaks of jinn, spiritual beings, and the disobedience of Iblis, which is Satan. Now let's get into the word Nephilim. So Genesis chapter 6, verse 4 describes the Nephilim as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men, and they are called the mighty men or the mighty men of renown, depending on what translation you have. We also see another reference in the book of Numbers, chapter 13, verse 33. It says, the spies described the inhabitants of the land of Canaan as Nephilim, likening them unto the giants. So the direct interpretation of, or the Hebrew translation of the word Nephilim is likely derived from the root, which means to fall, often interpreted as the fallen ones, the giants, or the mighty ones. Some interpretations include giants. Based off of the Septuagint and the description in Numbers, the Nephilim are often equated with giants. The fallen ones, some of the scholars think that the fallen ones are the status of the sons of God, and hybrid beings, which isn't found in Jewish apocalyptic literature, that the Nephilims are hybrids of human and angelic beings. In First Enoch, it describes the Nephilim as giants, 300 cubits tall, who bring violence and corruption on the earth. The Book of Giants in the Dead Sea Scrolls expands on the Nephilim, associating them with destruction. And in the Book of Jubilees, it explains that the Nephilim are the corrupt offspring destroyed in the flood. With other religious perspectives, Mesopotamian myths, stories of semi-divine beings that are coming from the heavens. They're described in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And in Greek mythology, you have similar demigods or giants that are like the Titans born from divine human union. And what I truly believe is that all around the world, every part of the world, in Mesopotamia, in Sumeria, in Egypt, in India, in North America, in South America. You look at all of the cave drawings and all of the things. In America, they call them the Native Americans call them the star beings. In every part of the world, you have a story of people coming from the heavens and intermingling with the people on earth. And what I'm convinced of is that in this Genesis chapter 6 account, this is a story that actually happened. And when the Tower of Babel happened and all of the languages were split, every single uh, language had the original story. And then it kind of took a life of its own within every single religion, every single region, every single area around, where they all remember the star beings or the angels, right? The different terminology for each group, but that's where we get the Anunnaki, right? That's when we get the stories of Enlil and Enki. All of these things are all rooted in Genesis chapter 6. Let's go to the term Elohim. Now, the biblical usage for the word Elohim is singular and it means God. It's often referenced as the one true God, particularly in monotheistic contexts like Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. It also means plural as divine beings, referring to the divine counsel and of other gods found in Psalms 82, verse 1. And it's also a reference to human judges who are human leaders and judges and representatives of God. And we see that in Exodus chapter 21, verse 6. Now, the word Elohim is a plural form of the word El, which means God, but is commonly used and in the singular when referencing Yahweh. In a monotheistic context, Elohim is grammatically plural but theologically singular when referencing the God of Israel. It And when it's talking about the divine council, it represents a heavenly assembly of gods or angels subordinate to Yahweh. We can see that found in Psalms 82. Today, I want to give you a bonus term that you would only know if you're really doing your homework and research. It's called the Raphaim. Now, the Raphaim is found in Genesis 14, verse 5, and found in Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 10 and 11, and also 3:11. And it identifies the Raphaim as the giants who were related to the Anakim, Zumamin, and Emim, um, and Og of Bashan is described as the last of the Raphaim. In Isaiah chapter 14, verse 9, 26, verse 14, it references the Raphaim as the spirits of the dead in Sheol and are often translated as shades or ghosts. So you might be asking yourself, why does all this matter? I'll tell you why. Because when Jesus was here in his ministry, he says the end times are going to be like the days of Noah. And if you look at the days of Noah, what was happening in the days of Noah? Right before the flood came, this unholy union of fallen angels and daughters of men happened and they created offspring. So, what am I trying to say? What is the implications of what I'm trying to say? Yes, it's possible that the days of Noah is just simply a reference to all there was sin, there was evil, there was no hospitality, right? This is what was happening in the days of Noah. But also, what was also happening in the days of Noah is that these angels fell, they married the women, and the marriage part was really an exchange of information. The marriage part, it says that these sons of God taught men different things, weapons of warfare, how to use makeup, how to do all of these different things that mankind was not even probably ready for, but it enhanced mankind within those unions. And also, that union created an offspring of Nephilim that were giants. Now, in the book of Enoch, it talks about how these giants were facing mortality, right? And as they were thinking about death, they asked Enoch to go before God and ask God to see if they would be able to receive forgiveness. And the response from heaven, from God, according to the book of Enoch, was that they were neither from heaven nor from earth. So they would spend their whole lives roaming on the earth after their physical body passes away. This is where I believe that we have demons. Demons are the disembodied spirit of the Nephilim. I don't believe that fallen angels are demons, and here's why. A fallen angel is always referenced as a fallen angel. It never gets referred to as a demon. Look it up. Demons are always trying to inhabit a body, right? Why? Because they don't have a physical form any longer that they could inhabit and they could do the things that they were doing. What were they doing? They started to mess with the DNA of humans, the DNA of animals. They violated animals, they violated humans, they were eating humans, they were doing things that was improper, and I believe that that is exactly what caused the flood. How do I know that? Because when you look at the story of Noah in the Bible, Genesis chapter 6, verse 9, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. What does that mean? Not only was Noah a righteous man, but Noah's DNA, his bloodline was not contaminated with that of being mixed with the offspring of the of the angels and the women. So Noah and his sons and his wife were not contaminated. What I do believe is that eventually when Noah got the call to build the ark, it also states that Noah's sons had wives, and I believe those wives were contaminated. And that's why when you have post flood, you still see giants in the land because of they're the children of Noah's son's family. But Noah himself was not contaminated. He was perfect in all of his generations. Look it up. You don't have to take my word for it. To me, this is all exciting because we're coming upon a time where we're looking at DNA strands. If you look at what really happened in the year 2001, instead of the United States going all the way over to where there was an actual terrorist act in Iran, we actually went to Iraq. And I think that the real reason that we went to Iraq was because Saddam Hussein in the museum in Baghdad uncovered the tomb of Gilgamesh. Now, why is that significant? Because if they found the tomb of Gilgamesh and they take his DNA and they mix it now, which we already know there's cloning, there's all of these things that are happening, to me, this is going to fast forward this bloodline that was lost, these giants that was lost, and it's going to begin a cycle, an effect of what's going to be happening in the future, aka the days of Noah, happening right here on this earth today. Now, let's get into another word, the divine counsel of God. In Psalms 82, verse 1, God or Elohim is taking his place in the divine council, and in the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. In First Kings chapter 22, verse 19 and 22, it says, Micaiah describes a version of Yahweh seated among the heavenly hosts discussing plans for Ahab's downfall. In the book of Daniel, chapter 7, it says that the Ancient of Days was sitting by many thrones. Job chapter 1, verse 6, it depicts the Benai Elohim present before God himself. And the Deuteronomy chapter 32, it reflects a divine allotment of nations to members of the council that are in the Masoretic text or the Dead Sea Scrolls known as the Divine Council of God. Some of the interpretations for the Divine Council are a heavenly assembly. The Divine Council is seen as a heavenly bureaucracy where Yahweh presides over angelic beings and or lesser gods. So let's talk about some connections between terms. The Raphaim and the Nephilim. Both are described as giants and the supernatural beings tied to divine human interaction. The Raphaim may represent a lingering presence of the Nephilim post flood. Now, what's interesting is that the Raphaim are the descendants of Anak, which I believe is where we get the term Anunnaki, right? Anunnaki are the giants or the mighty men or the people that come from, according to the Mesopotamian manuscripts, they are from a different world. They came down and they created a human race through DNA contamination and testing and doing all of these things to create a working force, a working class people. That is the Mesopotamian interpretation. That is not the biblical interpretation. And I think that part of that interpretation came from the Tower of Babel and all the separation of the nations through the language, as I mentioned earlier. So here's a question. Who are the watchers? So Daniel chapter 4, verse 13, the term watchers appears in Nebuchadnezzar's vision, referring to the holy ones or the angelic beings who decree a divine judgment. In First Enoch, the book of watchers, the watchers are a group of angels who descended to earth, married human women, and fathered the Nephilim. Let's talk about fallen angels. You might be asking yourself, so what are you trying to tell me? That there was two angelic falls in heaven, and I'm here to tell you that there might be even possibly three angelic falls that happen in heaven. Here are some biblical references. Genesis 6, chapter 1 through 4 implies the sons of God who rebelled by mating with human women. That's the first reference of the fall. Another two references of a fall, Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28, are the second mentions of what could be considered a fall. It was both referencing particular kings, and they're associated with the fall of Lucifer. Primarily in Isaiah is the king of Babylon, and in Ezekiel is the king of Tyre. And when you look at the definitions and you look at the way that each story is going. It begins with talking about those particular kings, but then it rears off to give specific details of the likeness of how those kings are acting in the similarity of how when Lucifer fell, and it was all about the pride that was found within them. Second Peter chapter 2 verse 4 speaks of angels who sinned and were cast into Tartarus. And Jude chapter 6 mentions angels who abandoned their proper dwelling and were kept in chains until the time of judgment. Now, really take that into consideration. Lucifer was not bound and tied into captivity because he didn't do what these fallen angels did, these watchers. So I would say that it's safe to say that these fallen angels that fell and intermarried with women were actually worse than Satan himself because they violated the human genome and Satan didn't, right? What we do know is that in the future, Satan is going to be bound, and it says that in one of the judgments that are happening in the book of Revelation, that the earth is going to open up, and those who are dwelling in chains are going to ravage the whole entire planet. We see that in the book of Revelation, and I think that this is going to give us some more homework to do, right? I want you to research this. I want you to ask more questions, and I believe the Holy Spirit will guide you because He is our teacher. He's the one that's going to lead us unto all truth. When it comes to the Hebrew and Greek translations, fallen angels are always known as the angels that sinned. They're never referenced as demons. They're referenced in Second Peter chapter 2 verse 4 as a rebellious heavenly beings, but they're never referred to as demons. Something to look at. And the Dead Sea Scrolls says that there are several texts that describe fallen angels as influencing humanity. The Book of Jubilees links fallen angels to the demonic activity post flood. And in the first book of Enoch, it expands on the rebellion of the Watchers as a specific group of fallen angels. Let's go to the term demons. So demons first reference in Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 17, it says that they sacrificed to demons, not God. In Psalms chapter 106 verse 37, it mentions sacrifices to demons tied to idolatry. In Matthew chapter 8 verse 28 to 34, it describes Jesus casting demons out of two men in Gadara. And in Revelation chapter 12 verse 7 and 9, it identifies demons as spirits aligned with Satan after him getting kicked out of heaven. I know this is a lot of information. I just want to make sure that you guys are good Bereans. You go back, you don't just take what I'm saying as truth. Read it, research it, find the scriptures, cross reference, look at the extra biblical resources. And I truly believe in this philosophy. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? And where is it found in scripture? And that's going to keep you on a straight and narrow path. To me, this is not a primary doctrinal stance. This is more of a secondary issue. So to me, we may differ in beliefs on certain things. You may believe that they are from the sons of Seth, and you may believe that this is has nothing to do with it, but that the contamination had nothing to do with it. But when I look at everything that was happening in the Old Testament, a lot of things make more sense when we plug in that the sons of God were fallen angels and they had intermarried with the women and created offspring. Every single time that Yahweh asked Joshua to go and wipe out every single person, man, woman, child, animal. I believe that the reason that that happened was because they were also contaminated their DNA, and what was really happening in the exploits and the war with Joshua was that he was going to all of these places, basically eliminating all traces of the Nephilim and the DNA that was contaminated. So really look at the details of why these things happen, because there really was no explanation about why it happened. But when you put in and you plug in this scenario, I think that it fits better with the storyline of the human genome, the DNA was contaminated, and therefore God began a process of cleansing all throughout the land. I want to thank you all for watching, for bearing with me this long. God bless you all. Hit that like button, subscribe, share, put your comments in. I want to read it. I want to go back. I want to do more research. I want to prove what I'm saying is right. Maybe I can't, but if you have some resources that I could look at, that I could research, share them in the comment section. Thank you all. God bless you all. Hit that subscribe button so that we can mess with this algorithm. Thank you all. Peace out.